Alright guys, priority one is making sure you can use the words oxidation and reduction properly. Oxidation is the loss of electrons by a chemical or atom. This calcium atom is just calcium on its own, 20 electrons according to the periodic table. But it can break it up into a calcium 2 plus ion and 2 electrons. These 2 electrons are being given off or lost by the original calcium atom, so the calcium atom is being oxidized. It's undergoing oxidation and losing its electrons. Similarly, this copper plus 1 atom can give off an electron, be oxidized, to give you a Cu2 plus atom. Now notice what's happening in both of these cases. Because we're losing electrons which have a negative charge to them, the charge on the atom itself is going up from neutral to +2, since we lost 2 electrons, or from +1 to +2, since we lost 1 electron here. Take a look at reduction. It's the exact opposite of oxidation. It's when you gain electrons. These 2 fluorine atoms each gain an electron, and that yields 2 fluoride or F- ions. This iron 3 plus can gain an electron to become an iron 2 plus. In both these cases, the atoms are combining with electrons or gaining electrons to become some other form of itself. The F's, which were neutral, get a negative charge because you added electrons, and the Fe3 plus has less of a positive charge now that it has gained the negative electron. So take a look at this reaction. This is a single displacement reaction between sodium and silver fluoride. I want you to take a very close look at what's actually happening in this reaction. We have a neutral sodium ion. We have an AgF molecule. It's actually an ionic compound made between an Ag plus and an F minus. After the reaction, we end up with a silver atom. That plus means the same as this plus here. That's not a charge. Sodium fluoride is made of sodium ions and fluoride ions. Now there's a fluoride on both sides. It didn't really participate in this reaction. It just kind of sat around. But what did happen is our sodium atom became sodium plus 1. How would that have happened? Well, this is a regular sodium and this is a regular sodium with 1 more proton than it has electrons. That's because it lost its electron. Just like in the case of these atoms. The calcium lost its electrons. This sodium was oxidized. And the Ag plus that we started with became just regular old Ag. How did it lose its positive charge? Well, it combined with an electron or was reduced into its regular atom. Now, why is this important? It's important because we have these things called chemical cells. This is when we use chemistry or in chemical reactions to actually produce electricity. 2 beakers, 2 pieces of metal, we call them electrodes because that's where the electron transfer ends up happening. We run a wire between the 2 pieces of metal, and we need something called a salt bridge because when you're messing with the charges, the pluses and minuses, we need this to make sure each solution doesn't build up a huge amount of charge. So, in one beaker, I'm not going to tell you what chemicals we're putting in there, but in one chemical reaction, we have electrons being produced or lost by whatever is going on here. Something's being oxidized. Something's losing electrons. On the other side, we have a reaction where electrons are being consumed. Something over here is gaining those electrons. We need to get rid of electrons here, and we need to get electrons over here. Because we're running a wire, the electrons actually flow through the wire to the other side. Electrons produced go through the wire, electrons are consumed over here. Oxidation causes a loss of electrons, reduction causes a gain. When you have these two chemical reactions happening at the same time, electrons get passed from one side to another through the wire. That can give you a voltage, it gives you a current, gives you all the good stuff that electricity is meant for. That, my friends, is your basic introduction to why we care about electrochemistry and the basic terms. Make sure you know oxidation is a loss and reduction is a gain of electrons. Best of luck.